How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we're finally doing it. We're finishing off the FireRed LeafGreen Legendary Speedrun series. But don't worry, this isn't the end of legendary videos on the channel. I'm broadening up the idea to the hardcore Nuzlocke that I've been doing on the past couple of months. Essentially, I'm going to take a single legendary, do a hardcore Nuzlocke of a game, and keep all the level caps and such, but only use that one legendary. And see which ones can actually clear games and which ones just get hard-walled. If you'd like to see a certain legendary in any certain game, leave a comment below with both of them in it, and I'll take them into consideration. Top 3 will be made into videos, so make sure to upvote the ones that you like the most. Anyway, Articuno is the last legendary on the list, and this uncooked chicken that was left in the freezer for 6 months is probably the best one we have for Kanto. Having the ice typing is certainly a plus, starting off with the moves Gust and Powder Snow, 2 decent stab options for the beginning of the game, plus the fact that we have Stab, Ice Beam, and Aerial Ace later on, as well as coverage moves like Water Pulse, Steel Wing, and Return, should put us in a pretty good position. However, Articuno's speed is rather low for a legendary. Base 85 is nothing to scoff at in Generation 3, but for a legend, we're gonna be struggling to outspeed late game threats. Thankfully, we get agility at level 25, so we should be able to bypass this. Our defenses are also pretty darn good at base 100 and 125 for physical and special respectively, as well as a base 90 HP, so tanking hits won't be a problem. Though we will probably not be dishing out the damage quite as much as previous legendaries, seeing as we have a base 85 and 95 physical and special attack. I think we're gonna have to survive a few hits in major boss battles in order to deal enough to get through. With that said, make sure to like this video, it really helps out. Let's shoot for 2,000 likes, subscribe to the channel, as well as Beast Coast Pokemon, the collaborative channel I participate in alongside Aaron Cybertron Zhang, James Beck, and Luke from Celio's Network. We make a lot of really fun Pokemon content over there, and there's an exclusive Nuzlocke challenge that isn't on this channel if you haven't seen it yet. With that, let's get into the run. So of course, the starter to change into Articuno with the Universal Pokemon Randomizer is Bulbasaur. This gives our rival a Charmander, which can hit us pretty darn hard late game with things like Flamethrower, so we should be in for a decent challenge. However, early game rival fights are a joke. He's only got Scratch for the offense, so I blast his Charmander with 3 Gusts to KO and win the fight. Not too bad, but I know who's up ahead. Brock's rock types are going to be able to blast Articuno pretty hard, especially Onix since it has Rock Tomb, so I'm going to have to get a few levels beforehand, or else I'm just going to go down to 1 shot. I usually fight every wild Pokemon I encounter while walking to get Oak's Parcel, as well as in the Viridian Forest with the 5 trainers in there as well, but I'm going to need a little bit more than that. So this time I decided to take on the optional rival battle on Route 22, going in at level 6, which is pretty under-leveled for this fight, but I should be fine. Our rival starts off with a level 9 Pidgey, missing Tackle immediately as Powder Snow does over half, so I do the same move as Tackle hits for 8 damage on the second turn, KOing and leading to Charmander. Scratch only does 3, that's great as Gust is a wee bit over a 4th, and it doesn't seem like he has Ember yet, so we trade 4 Scratches for 4 Gusts, putting me ahead as the winner. Sweet, that's a small chunk of EXP that should help put me over the top for Brock. Moving on through the Viridian Forest as well as the Pewter City Gym Trainer puts Articuno at level 11. A little low, but we should be able to get the victory thanks to Powder Snow having Stab and being super effective on their ground typings. First out is Geodude, going down to a single Powder Snow, leveling up Articuno in the process as Onix comes out second. It outspeeds, but uses Tackle instead of the quad effective Rock Tomb. Good start as Powder Snow delivers 75% damage to him, and he just throws the game by using Bind, doing minimal damage to me as a second Powder Snow grabs the knockout in quick fashion. Alright, only 1 attempt, that makes my life so much easier. Especially after the frustration of resetting here over and over again for the likes of Moltres and Zapdos. Route 3 goes even more perfectly though, as I find Spearow on the first encounter in the grass, catching it with a single Pokeball. Gotta love when the game throws you a bone once in a while. Mount Moon doesn't really provide any struggle except for the last scientist before the fossils. He's got 3 Pokemon, and I don't have too many moves that hit very hard. But I'm eventually able to make it out on top thanks to the poison only hitting me very late into the fight, so I didn't have to deal with it. Cerulean's up next, and I've got a bit of a conundrum here. Articuno is far too underleveled to take on Misty's team, seeing as Water Pulse will blow me out of, well, I guess the water, but her trainers don't, so I take them on, get the levels off of them, then go north towards the second required rival battle to see if I can clean up routes 24 and 25 to get that experience before challenging her. My rival's not too much of a pain, though 4 Pokemon is a bit for this point. First up is Pidgeotto, which I 2-shot thanks to Powder Snow, though a sand attack is definitely bad to see. Second is Charmander, and it does have Ember now. Great time to start feeling the effects of Sand Attack, though. Gust is a 3-shot on Charmander, which I can survive enough Embers to afford a single miss, but that puts me at 6 HP before taking it down. Oh, that's a shame. I can take down Abra, of course, but Rattata comes out and brings me to actually 1 HP with Quick Attack. Do I have a chance? Nope, I miss once again, and a second Quick Attack takes me down. Rough, but this fight should be doable, assuming he chooses another move. The second real attempt falls to Charmander, burning with Ember, frustrating to deal with that status this early, but third time's the charm as Pidgeotto simply goes for a light gust as I 2-shot it, doing only 8 damage. Perfect, this gives me the opportunity to 3-shot Charmander, barring a burn. I can easily get through this fight, but a critical shortens that to a 2-shot, leading to 1-shot on Abra with Gust, and Rattata while I have over half HP. Awesome, 2 Powder Snows later after a tackle and I've got the win in the bag. Routes 24 and 25 don't provide a struggle outside of the immense PowerPoint drainage that happens, though it's not that big of a deal, I've got plenty. I help Bill get the SS ticket, giving me the chance to fight Misty at level 21. And my first try actually goes really well, seeing as Staryu ends up going for Harden as Gust nearly 1-shots, leading to a Super Potion, but Gust still does enough to get a 2-shot, leading to Starmie. But this is where it goes south. Even from full HP, Starmie hits really hard, and an errant critical hit is able to outpace the damage output I can provide with Gust, losing me the fight. I didn't consider Secret Power an option here, probably should have, but, you know, I figured that just slapping a Person Berry to account for the Water Pulse confusion was enough. Thankfully, after a few attempts, it was, with this attempt having the same thing happen with Staryu and Harden, leading to Starmie. Water Pulse doesn't get any critical hits this time, and I'm able to play around a second Super Potion on Starmie by using Powder Snow on my third attack, putting her in range of a third Gust to KO. But I get the freeze here, even further securing my win since either she can try to attack and potentially thaw, or use a full heal, but the former happens. She stays in the ice and allows me to KO with another Gust, giving me the Cascade badge. Gotta love when low power moves like Powder Snow and Ember can cause some of the most irritating status conditions in the game, am I right? Anyway, it's a quick hop and skip south towards our rival on the SSN, grabbing a rare candy and citrus berry on the way. And this fight's really not any different from the first. Sure, the evolutions in Kadabra, Raticate, and Charmeleon are a bit worrisome, but I've got a decent level to take him on as opposed to being underleveled before the last fight. He leads off with Pidgeotto once again, so Powder Snow is nearly a 1-shot, seeing a Gust for 6 damage as I finish him off with my own Gust, leading to Charmeleon. And here's my ace in the hole. We got the Water Pulse TM from Misty just before, so I use it here, taking out Charmeleon in 1-shot thanks to a critical, leading to Raticate. There's not much here for him. 2 Powder Snows takes him down as he wastes time with Tail Whip, leaving just Kadabra, and because Gust is physical and plays around Disable, which he does use to attempt to get rid of Powder Snow, but it misses, allowing for Gust to just 1-shot the Brittle Mind and give me the win. Great stuff. Always love a first try win, but boy howdy this does not happen with Lieutenant Surge. I'm quite frankly too underleveled and unable to outpace his damage because he's hitting me for super effective damage, and I don't have a move that does over 40 power, except for Water Pulse, but it's not Stab, so it's effectively doing the same power as Gust and Powder Snow are. So I opt to skip him after a few failed attempts. I can always come back later once I deal with Rock Tunnel in Celadon City, so I just leave, go north, grab the bike, and tend to the stretch like I always do. I don't know, I don't really have much for the stretch this time. I guess I'll just reiterate what I asked for in the intro, like and subscribe, blah blah blah. Though I do want to add that the top 3 people who comment for a legendary hardcore Nuzlocke, please do include the legendary and the game you want to see it in. And the first one coming out on the channel will be of my choosing, simply to give the comments enough time to settle. Anyway, getting into Celadon City, I'm gunning for 2 things, the Ice Beam TM and the Rocket Hideout. The first I do not nearly have enough money for, but I should in a few gyms' time, so I'll be patient. The rocket hideout's pretty easy though, seeing as I have a pretty good type advantage over ground and flying types, so there we go. Giovanni gets punked out pretty easily by me. Onyx falls to a single water pulse, Rhyhorn does the same, leaving just Kangaskhan. It's a tank, seeing as Aerial Ace doesn't do much, neither does Water Pulse, but the Water Pulse is able to confuse her, leading to her hitting herself once, allowing for a combo of 3 Aerial Aces and Water Pulse to KO, while only getting hit a few times myself. Glad Giovanni doesn't spam Mega Punch there, or else that fight would have actually given me some trouble. Now that I have the levels though, I'm gonna go back to fight Surge, so I grab the HM for Fly, and I need his badge to use it. Though it would be nice if my mind didn't forget that I wasn't coming down here for the SSN. I already did that. Anyway, Surge leads off with a Voltorb, so I go with Articuno's Water Pulse, thankfully one-shotting before he could do anything stupid and leading to Pikachu, who's also a one-shot at this level. Last out is Raichu, and with the 8th level advantage, I blast out Water Pulse, confuse him, get him to hit himself, and finish the battle with a second one. Well, that was a hell of an improvement. Thanks for that being very easy. But let's make this a doubleheader of easy with Erika. She leads off with Victory Bell, so I fire Aerial Ace in the hopes to one-shot it, but it's a range and of course I have to miss it, getting paralyzed and hit with 2 acids, one of which lowers Articuno's defense before the second Aerial Ace manages to land and get the one-shot. Tangle is up second, going down immediately after setting up Ingrain, which just leaves Vileplume. I also get the feeling that this is a range, seeing as Aerial Ace nearly one-shots it as well, but it is a wee bit more HP than Victory Bell, so maybe not. But alas, 2 Aerial Aces hit in a row, with 2 acids from Vileplume not being enough to KO, handing me the match. Sure, I could have used the Cherry Berry, but I'd rather save these for the League if I absolutely need them. These battles early are more RNG heavy, and those berries just make things more consistent. Alright, with half the badges in hand, it's time for the Pokemon Tower rival fight, and I always deem this one as the easiest in the game, and it's no different here. Pidgeotto's a one-shot with Powder Snow, Charmeleon's nearly a one-shot with Water Pulse, landing an Ember for a grand total of 24 damage, going down next turn as Execute falls in line, getting blasted with a Powder Snow for a one-shot. Kadabra's out fourth, who falls to Aerial Ace, and last out is Gyarados. Boy, this would have been smarter to send in earlier, seeing as Intimidate's a pretty busted ability from what I've heard. It's still not enough to make Aerial Ace a 2-shot. Oh, excuse me. I always miss ranges apparently. This is a 3-shot, KOing after 2 Thrashes land to win the fight. If there's one thing I'm unlucky on apparently, it's not errant critical hits, it's always move ranges. Not sure why I'm cursed to this fate. After a few minutes though, I've got the Pokeflute in hand, giving me the chance to head south towards Fuchsia City, but I'm pretty poorly leveled at this point. Koga's Ace Weezing is level 43 and I'm going in at level 37, though I guess being the one with a legendary puts me on equal footing? I don't know, but let's see. The first attempt I go in with some forethought, which is pretty surprising, giving Articuno a Pecha Berry as he leads with Coughing. Again, ranges. Why can't I just KO with Water Pulse critical? Even the critical hits have to be ranges. Well, a Toxic lands and eats the Pecha Berry as a Hyper Potion comes down. But I'm able to 2-shot the Coughing with Aerial Ace before anything weird comes down, leading to Muck. He goes for Acid Armor, but because he's slower, I'm able to get in one more good Aerial Ace, doing nearly a third before moving to Water Pulse next turn, hitting another critical as Minimize comes in now. While the only sensible move to hit him now with is Aerial Ace, so why not just go for Powder Snow? Nah, in all honesty, I knew if I didn't freeze here, this attempt was done, as it will definitely use Toxic, unless the AI feels like being a dumbass today. But it doesn't, so I'm boned. Oh well. Second try ends up looking like it'll go well. I don't get Toxic, but of course, Sludge has to get the poisoning, and I have to look like a dumbass as he uses Minimize and he has higher special defense, but I insist on using Water Pulse instead of Aerial Ace. Does plenty of damage, man. Why do you have to be so dumb? Well, at least in the next attempt, it worked out. Instead of seeing Toxic out of the first Coughing, I instead see Smokescreen, allowing me to preserve my Pecha Berry and KO with a combo of Water Pulse and Aerial Ace leading into Muck. And thankfully, here's where I realize, oh boy, just click Aerial Ace and you'll win! And 3-shot the Sludgy Boy, leading to the second Coughing as I'm still not poisoned. However, this does change with the second Coughing. Aerial Ace does half as a Toxic lands, eating the Pecha Berry as the second Aerial Ace KOs, thankfully with a good range this time. I would have bricks if this didn't end up working out, leaving just his Wheezing. For some reason, he wastes his turn with Smokescreen, even though I have Aerial Ace and have been using it for some time now, but that's fine. That just gives me a free turn to hit another Aerial Ace, and honestly, that's probably decent, but I'm still outpaced in damage. 2 Sludges takes Articuno down to 3 HP, and I need 5 Aerial Aces to KO, but I've only hit 3. So I guess crit or bust? Thankfully, I get the critical hit. Let's go. If anything, I would have just skipped this fight and went to the Silph Company if I had to, but I will take the win nonetheless. As it seems, though, I'm probably still gonna need a few more levels anyway. I tried the rival fight in the Silph Company, 2-shotting Pidgeot with Powder Snow, but dying immediately to Charizard's Flamethrower. It's a 2-shot, very easily, and there's no way to heal out of it with a Citrus Berry or something, and Water Pulse does not 2-shot, so I think it's about time we get the Ice Beam TM. By getting this, I can easily one-shot the Pidgeot and use the extra turn that I was using to hit 2 Powder Snows in order to use Agility. This puts me faster than Charizard, and perhaps may lead to a usage of Scary Face, further increasing the amount of time that I have to get through the Charizard and get to the rest of his team, which I should be able to easily take down. I do opt to take on the Fighting Dojo as well next to the gym, seeing as I'm still short on funds to get the Mystic Water Held item, which I'd like for Water Pulse, as well as the extra experience to push Articuno to level 40 as soon as we hit Charizard. This ends up working a little bit better than I thought, as Agility gets off before Pidgeot, taking a Light Wing attack as the Ice Beam does one-shot, leveling up Articuno as I see Charizard come out and a Scary Face miss. That's great, but guess what? Flamethrower KOs from this HP. Yeah, not good, we might need another level or two, but I was missing 13 HP, so why not heal a bit more and give Articuno a Citrus Berry in the circumstance that I get past the Charizard, but have really low HP because of a Flamethrower. However, even with a critical hit, I'm still getting one shot after taking the lightest of wing attacks. So yeah, we need some levels. I'm not exactly keen on using my rare candies yet, as I think those are better suited for the later levels near the last rival fight before the league, but I'll play it by ear. Instead, I fought a number of the rocket grunts in the building, getting to level 42 before trying again. I think this little nudge should work. After all, I'm still working against the in-game time. I gotta make sure everything's still fast. Of course, this first attempt at this level has a critical wing attack come out from Pidgeot. Surely that's what ended the run though, right? Actually, it didn't, simply because Charizard hit itself in Confusion twice off of my first Water Pulse, KOing it with no damage. Well, that's an easy way to win, just RNG your way through it. Execute goes down to an Ice Beam, Alakazam falls to 2 Aerial Aces after a useless Calm Mind, and Gyarados takes an Ice Beam into Aerial Aces while hitting a Leer and a Bite before going down. Still don't know why the AI would go for Leer in this case since Dark is special in Gen 3, but I digress. We finally took him down, and I feel pretty comfortable at this level for Giovanni. He leads off with Nidorino, so I play around Poison Point by going for Water Pulse, doing less than half as Fury Attack lands for 3, then I go for Ice Beam, which does manage to take the KO, even though Water Pulse did a lot less damage. Great stuff though. Rhyhorn's out and down with Water Pulse, leading to Kangaskhan, and it goes for Fake Out so that it can flinch me before I can hit Ice Beam next turn, doing half. But she only goes for Rage. That's great. I have plenty of HP for Nidoqueen after the 2-shot. Oh, come on, dude. How many ranges am I gonna whiff in this video? I mean, I don't care. He just uses Tail Whip, but I think I've proven my point all too well today. Last out is Nidoqueen, and the ground typing does her a disservice, with Ice Beam doing over 75% and getting the freeze, though it doesn't last long as she immediately thaws out, using Poison Sting and getting the status. Nothing to worry about though, it's too late in the fight, I just hit another Water Pulse to pick up the KO and the win. You know what, I'm just gonna say it, let's abolish ranges in Pokemon, especially like, we have a new generation coming out, they can get rid of it, right? These things can suck my left nut, I hate them. And of course, in classic ChaoticMeatball tradition, I have forgotten to challenge Sabrina before heading to Cinnabar Island, the home of Blaine, a Fire-type gym leader, in a challenge that I'm using solely in Ice-type. I thought it was a good idea to skip the Psychic one to go do this now. Nah, in all seriousness, I just completely forget most of the time that Sabrina's blocked off because of the Silph Company's occupation. But I do realize it once I attempt to go to Giovanni's gym, and it's locked. Makes sense. Blaine is not possible at my level, though. I'll just say that straight up. If I can't one-shot his Growlithe with Water Pulse, then I cannot win. Well, I can, but it's another goddamn range. Please stop. I just want the ranges to end. What the... All 4 of his Pokemon have Fire Blast, and all of them can KO Articuno within 2 or 3 of them, making this a... Are you serious? That Ponyta is... Actually, I think that might be enough HP for it to even survive the highest range possible, but it sure is depressing when it gets to red off of one shot. Either way, I can't do this at this level, so I pump a rare candy into Articuno to see how well it does. Growlithe is thankfully an easier one-shot. Good stuff. And Ponyta is still surviving on a sliver that's too big for me to consider it a range. Though Fire Blast does under half, allowing me to spam Water Pulse to waste 2 of his Hyper Potions, landing... Oh, okay, it is a range. Dude, this game. Alright, jumping ahead a few attempts here, I pumped Articuno all the way to level 50, and it's still rather RNG heavy when it comes to beating Blaine. So I decided to say screw it. I'm going back to Fuchsia, grabbing the rare candy in the Warden's house, leveling up once off the trainers on routes 15 and 14, simply because they're in the way of the other rare candy on route 14, getting Articuno to level 53. This should do it. If it doesn't, I am going to scream. Alright, going into the first attempt at this level, I'm already over 3 hours on the in-game timer, and that's not a good sign, but alas, we will deal with it. Growlithe is a one-shot with Water Pulse, as is Ponyta. No ranges found here, folks, leading to the Rapidash. This isn't a range, but it sure is close. It brings Rapidash down to the mid-red HP as a Hyper Potion comes down after missing a Fire Blast, but 2 Water Pulses in a row makes it a non-factor, KOing and leading to Arcanine. Thankfully, we're able to survive one of its Fire Blasts from Rapidash missing earlier, doing a wee bit over half with Water Pulse as the second outspeeds and wins us the match. Man, I really wish I didn't have to spend these rare candies before the league. It's always what makes these runs take so long. With that, it's time for the Viridian City Gym. With that, it's time for the Saffron City Gym, because I can't possibly forget this time. I can't get into the final one without this badge. And if you think this is going to be difficult, you are sorely mistaken. I'm 10 levels higher than her ace, so I just go one-shotting everything. Hitting Aerial Ace on Kadabra, Ice Beam on Mr. Mime, Aerial Ace on Venomoth, and Aerial Ace on Alakazam. Pushing Articuno to level 54 as I receive the second to last badge of the run. Alright, well I think I'm gonna have to make up for these rare candies being used, and that's by fighting the gym trainers that Giovanni has. All of these guys use ground types, or fighting types, but I do have the type advantage for that as well, pushing us from level 54 to 56 by bell time. And just like Mike Tyson, we knock our opponent out in the first round basically every time. Rhyhorn falls to a one-shot Water Pulse, as does Rhyhorn number 2. Doug Trio also does the same, with Nidoqueen being the only exception to the rule, surviving and landing Body Slam, though I'm sure if I had used Ice Beam instead, I probably would have taken her down. Though 2 more Water Pulses after a Body Slam does it, leading to Nidoking, who falls to an Ice Beam. Sweet! Now for the last rival battle before the league. We're at 3 hours and 28 minutes before fighting him. I think it's possible to get sub 4 hours, but very unlikely. This fight starts off easy though, with Ice Beam one-shotting the Pidgeot and Water Pulse one-shotting the Rhyhorn, but alas, Charizard is still a struggle. Mostly because it's a range to 2-shot with Water Pulse. Are you f***ing serious? Nope. Not doing it this time. I'm headed to Celadon City. I'm going to grab some calciums. I am no longer going to be subjected to ranges during this run, and the game will not tell me otherwise, or else I'll skull bash its face in. The money I have, I get 4 calciums, giving me enough to get 40 special attack EVs, which in theory should boost my special attack by a good few points. But it still doesn't end up doing the job because I still have to level up first. Charizard is still an asshole, and without max ranges, Water Pulse is a 3-shot instead of a 2-shot, so it's a war of attrition at this point. I very much continued throwing myself at him until RNG worked in my favor. I'm pretty much burnt out on Fire and LeafGreen, so my brain was just like, you're so close, please just click the buttons a little bit longer. You're almost done. Though my brain was just like, nah, this feels like I'm doing this for another 12 hours, please let me stop. I almost managed to win one of the attempts, though. Of course, a burn that happened from Charizard ended up finishing me off by the time I got to a second last member of the team, though. A few more attempts later, and I finally had it. Agility first on Pidgeot leads to a light wing attack doing 19 damage, but I did a second agility. This should bait a scary face and still keep me faster, KOing with one Ice Beam as Rhyhorn comes out and falls to Water Pulse second. Third is the dreaded Charizard, and Water Pulse hits for half, but confuses here. That's actually great news, but he doesn't hit himself this turn, but he does bait the scary face. Still at +2 speed though, so I outspeed and hit another Water Pulse, nearly finishing him off. And because of the confusion, he hits himself, KOing and leading to Execute. Awesome, I should be able to clean up from here. One-shotting Execute with Ice Beam, two-shotting Alakazam with Aerial Ace and Water Pulse, leaving just Gyarados while on just over half HP. Intimidate mates Aerial Ace a little bit less good, but Ice Beam is still neutral seeing as it's part Flying type, doing just over half to make it a surefire two-shot next turn, even dodging a Hydro Pump in the process. Oh, good stuff, we're finally in the clear. Well, not in the clear of the whole game. I still have the victory road, and I've got to fight these trainers here to be at a high enough level to clear this league. See, Lorelei is going to be the biggest challenge because of the fact that we can't hit her very hard, and she can kind of hit us hard because we don't have any sort of resistance to water. Now sure, I can replace Ice Beam with the Steel Wing TM that we got in the Safari Zone, then replace that with another Ice Beam TM for the other 4 fights, but I just didn't have the money to perform this strategy after grabbing those calciums. That, and I didn't exactly think of it until writing the scripts, and it kinda irks me that I don't come up with this stuff off the cuff. Oh well, by the end of the Victory Road trainers, I'm able to push Articuno up to level 61 with 1 rare candy remaining in the bag, so I should be able to clear this. Leave your final time predictions in the comments below, and let's end this series with a bang. Lorelei, as to be expected, took a few attempts. The fact here is that while Hail from Dewgong and Cloyster doesn't do anything to me, water moves still hit Articuno for neutral damage, and Surf seems to hit pretty hard from what I can tell. This lets Dewgong bring Articuno down to half HP before I KO and get to Cloyster, and though Cloyster can't really do much other than use Protect, Hail, and Spikes, even though I can't swap due to only having one Pokemon. That's fine, it's a free KO, but Slowbro is extremely annoying. It sets up to Amnesia, not a problem, seeing as I'm using Aerial Ace, a physical move, and Surf does enough to where I can survive it, but it uses Yawn while Lapras has Confuse Ray and Jinx has Lovely Kiss, so that attempt ends there. Of course, a Lumberry should help in between fights so that I can go ahead and, not be asleep immediately. Anyway, second attempt and Dewgong actually wastes a ton of time using Hail and Safeguard instead of Surf, giving me plenty of time to fire enough Aerial Aces to KO, only taking a single Surf during the course of its field presence. Cloyster basically goes the same as before, stalling with Protect, Hail, and Spikes, though I realize now that I should be hitting it with Water Pulse and Ice Beam. It's not like she's able to hit me with anything, so there's no reason to use up some of my 20 power points of Aerial Ace that really could be used for the rest of this fight, because Lord knows I'll probably run out of them. But thankfully, I do realize that after using it twice, I hopped back and forth between the other 2 moves until Cloyster becomes confused and is easily KO'd. Slowbro's out third, and thankfully only hits a single Surf, using Yawn, then wasting the next turn with another Yawn as the Lumberry heals off the sleep, leading to Lapras at a little above half HP. I'm inclined to say that she's gonna go for Confuse Ray turn 1, but Surf and Ice Beam actually come out first, leading to a Citrus Berry for recovery, and just enough to keep her alive and send her into full restore range. Looking back on it, I definitely could have used Ice Beam to knock that HP down a little bit more just to KO with Aerial Ace instead of letting the full restore come down, which guarantees that Articuno would be KO'd, but alas, I still didn't think of it. I don't really think too often, to be completely honest. I kinda just like to mash buttons. But here we are on the final attempt. This time Dewgong seems to be dead set on using Ice Beam, though I only take 2 of those before KOing with a critical Aerial Ace after a full restore. Not bad, and here comes Cloyster. My brain still isn't working, and I continue to go for Aerial Ace. Though 2 turns without Protect should lead me to see that she's at low enough HP to KO with Water Pulse or Ice Beam, right? Well, not for the first turn of it at least, but I do shift over to Water Pulse to eventually KO afterwards. Third up is Slowbro, and I somehow don't click the up button to go to Aerial Ace. But that actually ends up being a good thing, as the single water pulse that I accidentally fired off manages to confuse the thing, holding it down long enough to not see Yawn as a critical aerial ace finishes it off, leading to Lapras. What the hell, man? Why did that have to happen like that? The damage is starting to rack up on me here, but yet another critical hit comes in clutch again as I completely bypass the full restore that would normally be used on Lapras here, KOing after the Citrus Berry activation and leading to Jinx. Now my brain is completely fried at this point. I forgot which defense Jinx specializes in. Thinking it was special defense, I go for Water Pulse and realize, oh god, I was wrong. Thank goodness I still have the Lumberry. I finish it off next turn with Aerial Ace. Alright, thank god. At least the next 3 fights are free. Bruno's great. I've got water and flying moves, he's got rock and fighting types, what's not to love? Water Pulse one-shots Onyx, Aerial Ace takes out Hitmonchan, then does the same to Machamp, though I do need 2 of them because he's super special and has a Citrus Berry. The second Onyx also falls to Water Pulse, leaving just Hitmonlee to fall to an Aerial Ace. Good stuff, thank you for making up the pain that was Lorelei's fight. Agatha's also not too much of a threat, but that's simply because we hit hard enough. Gengar number 1's out first and goes down to 2 Aerial Aces after using her only turn on Double Team. Very ironic due to my choice of move. Arbok second and Intimidate hurts, but Ice Beam hurts more, taking it to around 30% as we take a Screech and fire off a second to KO and lead into Golbat. An easy one-shot with Ice Beam. Articuno levels up as Gengar number 2 takes center stage, missing literally 3 Hypnoses in a row as I hit 3 Aerial Aces, but the Intimidate is certainly putting a damper on things. The Citrus Berry keeps Gengar alive to be healed on the 4th Aerial Ace, using 2 Sludge Bombs, but not quite getting the job done as another 2 Aerial Aces finishes off the field, leaving just Haunter. Aerial Ace does over half, and she uses Curse, cutting her own HP down to 0 and giving me the win. Alright. Unga Bunga hit hard strategy wins again. Lance, however, is probably the easiest due to our sheer type advantage against all but his first Pokemon. Gyarados is neutral to Ice, but it's still a 3-shot, firing off a Dragon Rage for 40 as I take advantage of the opportunity to get an Agility off in preparation for Aerodactyl. That thing is a Speed Demon, is likely the only thing able to KO Articuno on this team due to our quad weakness to Rock types, but they should mitigate that problem. Hyper Beam comes down for a good chunk of damage, but that recovery turn gives me plenty of time to fire off an Aerial Ace and another Ice Beam to KO, leaving just the rest of his team. Of course, these are all one-shots with Ice Beam, no questions asked. Aerodactyl, both Dragonairs, and Dragonite all fall to 1 Ice Beam apiece, and would you look at that, I had the perfect number of power points for the job, taking the win and leaving just the champion. 1 full restore, Rare Candy, and Max Elixir later, as well as a held Citrus Berry, and I should be good to go. The only problem here is that I want to set up an Agility on his Pidgeot, and he's still got Sand Attack. I figured that the only way I was winning was that if I just sat here and reset for a different move, and thankfully on the 4th reset of this fight, I managed to get one. This time with him using Aerial Ace and allowing me to fire off an Ice Beam after the Agility for the one-shot. Out comes Rhydon, and it's immediately dead to a Water Pulse, no shock there, leading to the Dreadmaster, which is Charizard, and Water Pulse manages to get a critical as Fire Blast lands, one-shotting me from nearly full HP. Well, so he's gotta miss twice, and I 3-shot, or he's gotta miss once, and I get a critical hit. This seems like yet another RNG-ridden mess of a fight. Plus, I have to wait through Pidgeot using Sand Attack a bunch again. Very frustrating, but once I got to the second real attempt that got past Pidgeot's stupid shenanigans, I do manage to dodge a Fire Blast after landing a Water Pulse, and then hit a critical next turn to seal the deal and get to the second half of his team. 4th is Alakazam, going down to a critical Aerial Ace. Well, shoot Articuno, you don't have to lay it on so thick, but I do appreciate it. Executor is also a one-shot with a non-critical Ice Beam, and Gyarados is the only one remaining. Alright, 2 Aerial Aces that are matched by 2 Thrashes just isn't enough for my rival to outpace my damage, and with 1 Ice Beam afterwards, the game is over and we finish the series. With that, let's look at the final leaderboard. 426. That's a little rough. That's not much farther behind Moltres, but honestly, I'm surprised that we're even behind Moltres in and of itself. I feel like Articuno performed way better than the fried chicken, though I suppose the levels that I needed to make up for my lack of damage output was probably what did me in. Either way, I'd love to see people attempt these runs themselves and improve the times, but for now, I think I'm gonna stray away from FireRed LeafGreen. I'd like to play some new games, thank you very much. I'm pooped. Anyway, see you guys in a couple of days with that Flora Sky grass-only hardcore Nuzlocke. I'm sure you'll enjoy it just as much as I do. Thanks for watching, everybody, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out this other one on screen. You'll probably enjoy it too. And if you really enjoyed the content and want to help support the creation of it, you can head over to my Patreon page and help support for as little as $1 per month. Speaking of which, shoutouts to my $5 and above patrons, Arantula, Aaron Liddell, Aaron Rhinesmith, Aiden Brannon, Andy, Casper Kirkpatrick, Cryptic Gamer, Heim Flo, Jacob Johnson, Justin Dimmenstein, Kevin, Leon Matalg, Zeno, and Zachary Keever. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.